Hi viewers and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at creating complex objects like this. Well, saying it's complex, this is actually quite a simple object to create. It's all about learning how to determine the shapes and the profiles we need to create this object. There's a lot of curves in here. There's a lot of material that's been removed. But if I told you that there is only around about 3 actions in here to create this object, as in the 3 actions in the body, then you'll see how simple this object is to actually create. So let's have a look at this technique. We're going to be using something called a groove in here to create this simple object, which looks quite complex. So I hope you're enjoying the channel, and let's have a look at this technique. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. So I've got FreeCAD open, I've started a new document, and I'm in the part design workbench. We're going to look at the model from the top. Now if we look at the model and just look at the silhouette, we can see it has 3 arms and a number of arcs going around the outside. So the ends are arcs and the arms are arcs themselves as they arc inwards. So what we're doing is breaking down the object and looking for the component parts, the component shapes of the object. So we're looking for such things like arcs, rectangles, squares, circles, even for primitive objects like spheres and cylinders, etc. So everything is made up of those objects. You'll only know that once you start using FreeCAD and learning about the different sketch objects and the primitive objects, etc. So I'm going to create a new body and create a new sketch. And we're looking down, so we're looking at the XY plane. You can see we've got all the geometry coming up here. So we're looking at what we can use to create this object. If we look at the center, we can see basically we can fit a circle in there that we can attach the arcs to. So let's place a circle in there. And also we've got a hole going through the middle, so that will be a circle. Now it's worth placing the circle in here and looking at what we have down here to see how far we've zoomed out or zoom in. That gives us an idea of the size of what we just placed down here. And also if we look when we're actually creating this, so hit escape and just delete this and go to the circle and auto constraint to the center. I've got the auto constraints on and avoid redundant constraints on. We can go to the center there, and as we move out we can see how far we're moving. So we're moving out 60, 66, 72 if we look down to the bottom, 71 millimeters there, and hit escape, click on that, and that's add some radius. So that's a block constraint there. It looks similar for the radius, or the diameter looks similar. Here's the radius, here's the diameter. Let's add a diameter to that. So we've got 147 millimeters there. And I want 30 millimeters. And that's zoom in. If we click on this icon here, this centers our sketch. Fits the whole contents of the screen, so we can work with this. This is our centerpiece that we're going to be using as construction geometry. So when I change it to construction geometry, this becomes blue because it was fully constrained before. You saw it in green. Now it's light blue. Construction geometry is just geometry we can connect to. It doesn't affect any padding or anything. It's something just to connect to. If I come out of this, this will actually vanish. You won't see this circle. So the next thing is I'm going to add some more construction geometry. Now looking at our object, we can see it has 3 arms. So I'm just going to use 3 lines in here, auto constraint to the center, and do the same coming out. So these go through the center of the arms. We're going to use constraints against here, so I'm going to click all of them and hit equals, the equality constraint, that makes them equal to each other. We haven't got this one constrained to the center here, so we're going to click on those 2 and just use a constraint against there. coincident constraint. So when I move these will move in and out. But we've got degrees of freedom with the angle, so we need to constrain the angle. So we need to select one, then the other, and divide 360, the full degrees of the circle, by 3, which is 120. But we don't have to worry about maths because we can come in and use the angle, and let's highlight this and do 360 divided by 3, and you get your 120. I'm going to do the same with these two as well. Come in and use the angle, 120. So these have now got 1 degree of freedom because we're constrained in the middle, and we can move just 1 point in and out, and you can see those are moving there. Let's select all of these and change them to construction geometry, and we need this icon here. Or we come out to sketch, geometries, toggle construction mode. So we've got all those as construction geometry there. We now got to add the arcs. Now we're looking at the end arcs of our arms. So we can see we've got half circles basically at the ends. So we come up to our toolbar, we drop down the arcs. At the moment I've got this endpoint and rim point. I'm going to use the center and endpoints. What this allows me to do, if we move up to the top and zoom in, is that I can make the first constraint coincident to the center, and we get this line and circle. So this is the radius of the arc. So this line here. So we do the radius of the arc, which goes this far out, and then we draw the arc in. Now, I'm not too worried about where this radius and how far out this is drawn, because we can constrain this in a minute. And we're going to constrain them all together. So I'm just going to add them in at different radiuses, just to show you. So we've got 3 different radiuses here, and also 3 different positions of where the arc starts and finishes, like so. Let's select all the arcs and we'll set the radius. So the first one we selected is this one, and because it's the first one we selected, if we use the radius for this, so let's come in, come down, because it's arc, it's best to use radius. It's going to say that we're going to use radius across all of them. The first one we selected will be the radius, so I hit yes. You can see the radius is hitting there, and we've got 6.10 millimeters. So I'm going to set this to 20 millimeters, like so. So you can see that's pull these out at 20 millimeters. Let's just change the size of this one and bring this up to 50, and we'll pull these out so they sit outside of here, and we can open these up if we so desire. Let's get our length in. So I'm going to set the height of this one. We can use a distance on the other ones, but I'm going to set the height on this one, so that will affect all of them, because we set one at 17 millimeters, that affects all of the rest. So this arc now, it's one here. In fact, let's make this 80 mil. So we've got those there. So we're going to connect these up with an arc and then touch this circle in here, so they're tangent to here. Let me show you. We're going to use this time an endpoint and rim point. Make it coincident, so that point coincident to that point, and we're going to come down with the arc and then touch the inner circle. That makes that tangent to that inner circle. So tangent means touching, it's touching that inner circle. We haven't finished yet, because what we're going to do is hit escape to get the mouse pointer back. We're going to make this line, so this curve flowing into this one. So click on one arc, click on the other, and use tangency. We get a constraint subtraction, which means that the coincident constraint will be removed and a tangent constraint added, because there's no need to have 2 constraints on this point. It just wouldn't work. It's just over constrained there. So we've got this curve in here. We're going to do the same with the top one. So let's move this constraint over here, and let's zoom in. So pick an arc and pick the other one. Doesn't matter which way around you pick them, and use the tangency constraint, and you can see how that's curved in, and hit OK for substitution. It's gone green, which means that is constrained. So that arc is fully constrained because it's constrained against a radius and a radius of the construction geometry. So those two are touching. We're going to do the same on the other side. We'll basically repeat around the other side. So endpoint or endpoint, step 1, coincident to one, coincident to the other, and bring this in and just touch this circle and to make that tangent. Or if we drop it outside, what we can do is hit escape and just click that arc there, click the circle, add the tangency, and then work our way around adding tangencies to the others. See, we've got a bit of a problem there. Let's OK that and Control Z. That's because these two are too close, so we'll bring this around here. And what we've got to do is just be careful of how those are sitting there. And what I'm going to do is bring this around like so and just do one. You can see it's kind of messed up down here, but that's fine. We use this arc and this arc. Use the tangency. OK. And we've got this one here. Let's pull it this way. And there we go. And use this arc and this arc. And use the tangency there. So we've got those going around here. Let's just adjust these, bring this around, and bring this around so we don't get that problem anymore. And we'll come up, zoom in a bit, and add the same to here. So endpoint and endpoint arc, connect, bring it in, made it tangent, and use the tangencies here and here, tangent, okay, and finally this one. Tangency. Okay, so straight away they're all fully constrained. We've got minimum amounts of data constraints in here, so it makes it nice and easy to see what we're doing. We could reduce these down even further if so desire, but this is what I'm going for at the moment. The good thing is that if we change the inner diameter, let's say to 60 millimeters, then this moves out as well. And we don't break our model, it's all constrained nicely, and we've got full control over this. So that's a basic shape. So looking down on top of the object, you can see that they now match. We need a hole through the middle as well. Let's go back into the sketch, place a hole in there, and using the circle, come in, coincident to the middle, come out, and create a circle in here. Hit escape, click on the circle, and let's add a diameter in there, not the block. It will actually still work, but we're going to use the constraint of the diameter in there, and add 30 mil. So now when we close the sketch, you can see we've got a circle in there. We're going to pad this sketch now. Now this doesn't sound correct, but what we're going to do is make the basic shape first, and we're going to add a decent amount of padding. We may have to increase this. Let's go for 100 millimeters. So we've got a large pad there. That is a bit too far, so I'm going to bring this down and do about 80 mil. There we go. So we've got quite a bit of padding in there. So what do we have? We have our pad. So we're missing the slots in here. Now if we come into the pad and look at the sketch, we can add a slot in here by using the slot tool, this one here. And the first one we're going to do is constrain to the center here, the center point, come down, and we can't auto constrain to this arc because we get a tangency. What I want to do is to drop it in here without any constraints, and then take this point and constrain it to this line and use the point on object constraint. We get some over constraints, click to select and just delete. And what we'll do is bring this up like so. The reason why we add the over constraint is that point. Now I try to connect it to there. We've actually got this constraint here which allows this to move up and down. Click on that, hit delete. Try deleting that again, hit delete. There we go, that's gone now. Use that point on there so you can see it's mobile. That point on that line, point on object constraint, and we'll add some width to that. And I'm going to use that point on this circle here, so I'm constrained to that line and this circle, point on object constraint. Like so, we've got a slot there now. We're going to add another slot, constraint to here, bring this out. Let's get rid of this horizontal constraint because we can't move it at the moment around on the horizontal. We've got a tangent constraint that's appeared because I accidentally touched that line, which is no good, so I hit Control Z. That's better. So watch out for accidentally hitting that line. So this point on this point, coincident, horizontal constraint, delete, point on this circle, point on line constraint, and this point on this line, point on line constraint there, and bring this in. Let's do the same on the other side. Kill the horizontal constraint with a delete on that. This point on this circle, point on line constraint. That's gone way out here. And then let's bring this down like so. And you can see this point here has got to be on this line. Point on line constraint there, so we've got those there. Now we need to take these arcs and make sure by clicking on them that they're all the same radius, and we use the radius constraint for that one as well. So we're sharing that across there, hit yes, and change that to 10 millimeters. So now when we hit close, we've got this shape. So now we're going to move to the side and understand how to create the profile of this. So when we're looking at the shape, you can see we've got this interesting shape. So it's almost like a curved object, but we kind of cheated with it because we've used something called a groove. So let's have a look what a groove does. So if we look along the left, we can see we've got this line here going straight the way through that arm. The reason why I've picked left is because if I create a sketch, we're looking along the YZ plane. See that YZ plane there. Hit OK. This will flip it around the other side, flip it around the right way. Our sketch actually sits right through the center of there. If we wanted to, we can actually change the angle there. For instance, if I clicked on the sketch and just delete that, and let's say we came round to the front like so, we can see if we try to create a sketch in here, it will go along this way. So now if I click sketch along the XZ plane there and hit OK, then if we create a sketch in here, so if I just create a box like so and use the section view, you can see that, well, it hasn't actually intersected in this arm. It's important that we do intersect this arm because we can know what kind of profile that we want to remove. If we do that, that's to hit close. So how do we intersect there? Well, we can rotate it. Look at the sketch and look at this green line, because this is the green line of the y-axis, because our sketch axis differs slightly because there's no z. The z-axis actually goes along here. You can see how it differs from our normal axis over here. The green is actually going this way. So let's hit close. So we know the green is the y-axis. So come down to attachment. First one there, attachment, not placement, because it's attached to the XZ plane. Go into the axis, and we've got to take away the one from the Z and place the one in the Y. So this is the one that will rotate around. So fully around the Y axis. That one there. Now when we change this, you can see that rotates into place, and we can just rotate that sketch into place wherever we see fit. So let's click on top and just use the up and down arrow keys in the angle. Let's bring this into view and just move that into position like so, 30 degrees. That means when we double click on the sketch, that's going to actually intersect through there. Do a section view so we can see that rectangle is intersecting in there. Now I've added a rectangle, I haven't actually attached it to anything at the moment, which we don't have to. This is going to end up being the profile of what we're going to be removing from this object. So I'm just going to delete that. We look at the object from the side. We can see we've section viewed through here, this arm. If I place a rectangle in here and just make it attach itself, point on object constraint here, that goes right the way down through that axis like so. This material will be removed. Hit escape, and let's just pull this in. So we've just made a section in here. If I hit close, we can see how that sketch sits. Now this is the magic part. Make sure the sketch is selected. Come on to part design, and it's a subtractive feature. We're removing material away from there, and use groove. See what's happened? Let's leave this open, come back to the model. Now you have to be careful here because we've grooved around this vertical sketch axis. So when I click the model and then click on the sketch and bring it back, let's come back into the groove, this groove here, and click on the sketch so the sketch is inside the groove. You see it's gone into error, and that's because the task now actually accesses the sketch, which is wrong. And let's bring this down and just fix that vertical sketch axis. There we go. I just made that sketch available. You can see what's happened. Let's hit OK. And the sketch is made invisible again. Press the spacebar just to show that. See how that's gone around there? And if I use the angle, we can actually demonstrate what's happened. So if I press up, we can see how that has removed and made a void in there, like so. So it's made the profile there. We can have some real fun with this because, let's just set this back to 30. We can come into the sketch, and while we've still got the groove here, let's click on the groove, press the space bar. Let's bring this out. Use the section view. At this time I'm going to go to sketch, view section. Bring this out, so this will remove all this material. And I'm going to click on this line. And we're going to move this. So I'm going to take off this horizontal constraint. That means I can move this up like so. So what do you think will happen? Well, we're going to get this shape removed. Let's go to task, hit close. And what you'll see is now we've got curvature to this, like so. Push this even further. Go to model, let's just show that groove. Section view, you can see inside. Let's push this even further. So let's delete this line. And that's had a polyline. So this line here, polyline. So we're going to go along. Make sure that's nice and straight. And then we're going to go up. Like so. Let's have a look at this. So you can see what's going to happen here. Hit escape. Escape again. Make sure these are all connected, which they are. And we'll bring this out like so. So we should get a nice curvature around here and a straight. To task, close. And that's exactly what we've got there. Something even more interesting. Let's double click the sketch and just show that groove. So we've got an idea of what's happening and section view through there. So we can see that there. Section viewed through there. Click off. What happens if we curve this back around? So let's just take this point here and just delete it. Or even, let's take this whole line and delete it and use the B-spline. So what I'm going to do is create a B-spline in here, add a couple of points and connect it up. Hit escape, so we've got this curvature here. What will happen, you can see this will end up creating this shape around and curving up. But let's bring this one here, zoom in. Let's grab hold of this one and bring it down. And take this one, bring it out, and bring this point. Matter of fact, what I need is just to delete that point there so it breaks the connection between those two. And we're going to use the B-spline again. Click on that point, come round and back in and back out, and click, hit escape. So we get this curve here. Hit escape again so I can manipulate these points. Matter of fact, that's get rid of that B-spline and instead use a polyline. This will be easier. And we'll come in like so and just do that. So from this, so we've got this polyline that comes down here, and we've got this here as well. So we've got this shape here which intersects, say something like that. It's quite an interesting shape. Come into task, hit close. Look what's happened. So it's actually grooved out these points for us, as well as this shape here. It's taken grooves out the side, so you can see how this literally scrapes away material from here. It allows us to create some quite interesting applications or features on there. Let's come back in and bring back the groove. You notice I haven't constrained this down, this is just for speed. Always use the selection view so you can see through. And we're going to bring this up and just make something a bit interesting. We've got the B-spline, comes round, comes in, creating a groove in here, like so. Go to task, hit close, and we've got our shape starting. Another thing is, let's say that I wanted to create a circle pattern around here. Well, we can come into the sketch and we can add a circle to here, like so. And we'll use the trim away this circle, trim away the inside, hit close, and now we've got a circle that's starting to appear around here. It may look a bit jagged. We can turn down the tolerance, so let's click on the body, let's look at the view. We've got the deviation down here. So if this was up, say like 1, then these would be quite jagged here. And click on the body, come into the deviation, and 0.1, and you can see how that cleans up. See how that's clean? So what I did was come into the body, deviation was up at 1, and sometimes with FreeCAD it has a bit of a refresh problem. And even if you hit edit refresh, you can see it's not actually taken there. But if you have some problems here, you can come into the body and set the deviation down to something lower, and that will clean up that sketch there. So we've made that feature there. I'm going to come into the sketch and just bring this down slightly and hit close. So far we've got this feature. Let's add another profile to this. Click on the body, create a new sketch, and we're going to go along the, well, let's go along the XY plane. I'll place it along here. Or let's have a look at where this intersects. So this intersects here, this plane here. Let's click on there. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to attack it from this angle now. So that's going through this side here. This side here. Just hide the other sketch. Do a section view. And this time I'm going to remove material from the bottom. Click on the right. Let's create a profile through here. So we're going to create polyline connected to the center and follow this down like so, across, and we'll go down across. So remember, this is going to be removed. Connect and all the way up. There's only one side you want to do it like so. This is over constrained. If we click on tasks, click to select, we can find what's being over constrained. So this one here, click to select, you can see that one's there because it's got a point on object constraint and a point on object constraint there. So hit delete, let's get rid of that. Let's hit close. Let's just bring this down a bit more. And we can create a curve in here, but I'm just going to go for that for the time being. Hit close. Now we've got the sketch here, it's inside the body. Let's go up to the groove. So click on that, or part design. Create a subtractive feature and groove. Look what's happened. We've now got quite a complex part, which has been actually created quite simply. Let's just OK that. And there we have it. How to use grooves to create something like this. So I hope you find that useful. I hope you're enjoying the channel, and I hope to see you again next time. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.